Hello, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in here today. We're going to have another one of these conversations that involves some honest examination of our own thoughts. Yeah, shiny, bright, shiny rainbows and unicorns, isn't it? No, it's not. Yet it's essential if we want the peace of God. So you're invited to tune in and think about where you appear to be, where you appear to find yourself, and assess all of this honestly today. We're invited to do this every day, by the way, and it's this that we hide from. Even here in this realm of practices, this collection of stuff, rituals and sounds, and books and objects that we call spirituality, even here we want to keep the ego firmly alive and well. So that is until we really don't. And nobody really does. But we're confused. We're dazed and confused. We're wandering around looking for truth, looking for the answer, and we're looking in the wrong places, which is why we're having this conversation right now. It's why we're not fully and completely awake in God. It's why we need YouTube. It's why we need A Course in Miracles. It's why we need our spiritual practice. So I'm fond of saying, and if you've watched these videos in the past, you'll have heard me say that spirituality is an adult endeavor. It is. Not that kids can't participate in it, they can, but it's for grown-ups. And what I mean by it's for grown-ups is it requires honesty. And you may even refer to it as brutal honesty. It's loving honesty. It's only brutal to the ego. The ego hates love and is afraid of it. So, honesty, it requires our honesty on the path in bringing all of our darkness to the light, bringing our illusions to truth. Truth shines them away. Light shines away darkness. It is like flipping on a light switch in a dark room. What happens to the darkness? It is gone. It's as though it were never there. Hmm. Yeah, it wasn't there. It was illusion. It is illusion. It's not here right now either. Flip the light on. Let's spend some time really focusing on this because here, what we do and why we find ourselves doing the same things over and over again, expecting the peace of God, yet looking for it in the wrong place. I mean, really, as sobering as that may sound, we've got it completely backwards. If we didn't have it completely backwards, this conversation would not appear to take place. We wouldn't need it. We wouldn't need A Course in Miracles. We wouldn't need any spiritual traditions. We wouldn't need YouTube. We wouldn't need any of this, and it would not be happening. But because we think that we're individual self-sustaining survival units, here's how we set that belief, that false belief, aside for all time. We're asked, honestly, what do we want? Light or dark? Do we want God or the ego? Do we want joy, the peace of God, or do we want suffering? Well, life or death? Light or dark? Which is it, honestly? Let's start with that honest assessment because what we have right now is the power of decision in the present moment. We may choose not to exercise it, and well, that is what it is. It's your choice. You have the power to choose light or dark. How do you come to know God? How do we experience what we call awakening, enlightenment, realization, whatever terminology you wish to use to describe this? Well, we remove all the obstacles to our awareness of truth. We bring our illusions to truth, and the truth, the light, shines them away. We bring these seeming opposites together. We don't keep them apart. That's what we're trying to do, believe it or not, here in the world when we run around and we think we're individual self-sustaining survival units, human beings, a body. Hmm. No, doesn't mean don't take care of it. Eat healthy foods if you want to eat healthy foods. I mean, there is a purpose for this communication mechanism. You're watching the purpose for this communication mechanism right now. Yours may look different, but ask your inner teacher what that is and give the communication mechanism over to him for his use, for healing the mind. You'll be happy that you did, as scary as it may seem at first. You are not giving up power and control to an outside force or being. There is nothing outside you. The Holy Spirit is part of our mind, this part of our mind that will guide us lovingly, patiently, guide us, if only we'd let it. Hmm. We bring these seeming contradictions together. One's true, one's not. The truth shines the darkness away. So, what we are attempting to do here in the world of supposed individuality is we're hiding the truth. We're attempting to conceal it, to wrap it in multiple layers of blankets or a veil, or to stuff it away in a dark room or a closet someplace out of sight, and we think out of mind. There is nothing out of mind. And so these little pockets of hatred and guilt and fear keep gnawing at us, they keep showing up in our experience. Different day, different appearance, same guilt and fear, right? We bring them together. We're attempting to keep these two thought systems apart. That truth is union. We bring them together, and the true shines the untrue away. This requires our willingness. And does it require courage? Well, yeah, it may well, because we're afraid of the light. I know. That's not very shiny and sexy to say, is it? Remember, it's an adult endeavor, and honesty is required. So you may be wondering what I mean, especially if you're just tuning in, by little pockets of hatred. Well, this is a motif that runs throughout A Course in Miracles, and it also goes by the name of special relationships, special forms of love and hatred, condemnation, where we single one person or a group of people out for specialness, for special praise. We say that we love somebody more than someone else, or we love this group of people, hate this group of people. We're attempting in doing this to keep all of this apart and hidden. We want to keep our condemnation hidden, but reserve it for another time. Yet love on these people, hate these people, and we're running up against the practical truth of these teachings that forgiveness is either total or it's not at all. You can't awaken partially because that's not awakened, is it? We can't keep our special forms of hatred for some people and love on everyone else. That's not love because love is whole, it's unified, and it's total. But we must, at some point, accept this. Today may not be the day where you're ready to gum that down and swallow it. So be it. And maybe you are. Maybe you are. In attempting to keep little forms of hatred and reserving judgment and blame for a person or ourselves or certain groups of people, we're attempting to wall off truth and run away from it. We're playing what amounts to a ridiculous and meaningless game that we could choose to set aside. Here's the deal. Truth is, God is, period. Just because we've chosen to run off and think that we're separate doesn't make truth any less true. It's still truth. We're simply choosing not to believe it. We don't acknowledge it. Well, we appear to be here running amok. Yet we run up against great pressure and tremendous suffering and resistance because we have discovered, and you have discovered because you're on the spiritual path, you're interested in this. So I know that you've heard the call of our inner teacher to awaken, and I know that you've answered it multiple times. Thank you. Keep doing that, please. We're so attracted to God, to love. Love attracts itself. This pull is so strong that we feel it. It's why we're on the spiritual path. We feel it perhaps acutely, and we cannot maintain this conflicted state of mind. Yet we appear to be in conflict because we want to keep these little forms of individual self identity, labels, and yes, little judgments of ourselves, of other people. We want to hang on to it. And we're afraid of the light, yet we're drawn to it at the same time. We think that the light is scary, that we would be obliterated. No, we would not be obliterated. Would the ego cease to exist? Yeah, it's nothing anyway. It's a simple mistake to be set aside. There is no individuality. You heard that right. There is no individuality. There is no separation of any kind. The more you hear that and take that to heart, so to speak, and allow the truth of that statement to permeate your mind, the better. There is no separation, period. Truth simply is. We can run off, and we have run off and attempted to deny it, and we may be denying it. You may be denying this completely. It doesn't make any difference if you think this pixelated image on your screen is completely full of stuff. Excrement? Yeah. I mean, you could denigrate this course. People have done it before. They're doing it now, thinking, what a hot load of a steaming pile of BS that actually is. You've got to be kidding me. You're not a body? What the actual, right? WTAF. If you don't know what that is, I invite you to look that up. Yeah. Or ask your kids or your grandkids. They'll know. And we could say this, and we have said it, or we wouldn't appear to be here having this discussion. We would be fully awake in God, where we actually are and have always been. We would be simply aware of that, because we would have removed the blockages, the veil, so to speak, that covers our sight. We would have brought all of our illusions, including our little pockets of self-condemnation, of condemnation of others, to the light. We would have brought all of our illusions to truth, which is what we're invited to do every moment of every day. Bring the illusions to truth. We can't have it both ways. I mean, and think about it. Has it brought you the peace of God to maintain hatred for someone else? No. I mean, when you honestly and adultly answer no, then yeah, of course. Then the path, the way to set all this aside becomes pretty clear, becomes crystal clear, in fact. And well, are you ready to do it? Are you ready to put these teachings into practice? That's where we really learn, is in our practical application. Understanding these ideas intellectually has some value. Yes, of course it does. I mean, it does have some importance, but it absolutely pales in comparison to the experience of putting them into practice. Spirituality is about practical application, not just this course, all of it. Every single tradition that has ever been, whether it says so or not, is about practical application. Spirituality is about experience. It is this experience that we all yearn for and crave, yet we're standing in our own way and we continue to block ourselves. That is until you decide not to. And then perhaps that decision may come today, maybe right now as you listen to these words. And I hope that it may, because that would be very cool. It's about as close as anyone can come in words to the magnitude of making this decision today. It would be very kind of you indeed. We only think that there's separation. God doesn't know separation, so it doesn't exist. God does not know condemnation, so it doesn't exist. God doesn't hate, so hatred does not exist. God doesn't separate and parse out, so separation doesn't exist. Now, you may have been taught growing up quite the opposite. Oh, I can relate to that very well, in fact. I think that many of us can. There are many people that find A Course in Miracles in what we refer to as middle age or later in life, having been raised in a tradition that posited that God is vindictive and jealous. Yeah, no, there is no separate other. How can there be jealousy if there's no other? Of whom are you jealous? Let that one go. Yeah. So we're invited to bring illusion to the truth. The truth shines it away. All of spirituality can rightly be said to be this removing of the veil, so to speak. Truth simply is we think we've obscured it. We can set these obscurations, these layers, this veil, this wall to the side. And that is what we're invited to do. You have help. First and foremost, the help of the Holy Spirit, your inner teacher, this part of our mind that will guide us, lovingly and patiently guide us, if only we'll let it. Then you have the help of what appear to be human beings, like this. If you have questions about any of this, you are most welcome to ask. What my intention is, part of this is I'm offering these videos to share the Holy Spirit with you. This is my own personal directive, and yours may look very different. Yet part of this is deep self-inquiry. So to the extent that you have questions, I intend for this to be a safe and a valuable space to bring your questions. So if you've got them, please do that. And thank you to those of you who have recently subscribed. If you have not, please do so. Please join us. This is the subscription prompt here. Click that arrow and join us. Several videos appear each week, and again, we're invited to honestly assess things. I mean, you might say, okay, well, that takes some chutzpah, yeah. In Spanish, down here in the southwestern United States, we say some cojones, which I invite you to look up if you don't know what that means. Yeah, well, it takes a willingness, a little willingness to be really, really honest with ourselves and bring our illusions to truth. So let's do that. Okay? Thank you.